All of you, please have a seat. I request all of you to kindly switch off your phones. Welcome everyone to the press conference of the film Uma, the Light of Himalaya. Let me introduce to the people behind the film, the director, Mr. Ananda Jyothi, the actor, Isabella Pitaki, and the music composer, João Paulo Matonca. I warmly welcome all of you to the IFFI Goa and to the press conference. I will give little brief and kind of overview of the film, Uma, the Light of Himalaya. It portrays the search of the question of every human being from the perspective from the sacred river Ganga itself, which represents the ancestral wisdom of India. As per the director, it's a visual pilgrimage. Ananda Jyothi, Kochi-based writer, a filmmaker who has lived in Brazil but returned to India. He is a musician also and worked as a curator of Indian Film Festival in Brazil. With his wife, the couple is working as a cultural link between India and Brazil, a window for each other. Now, I will request director.
And his another one also came this year, called Echoes of Silence, which is based on music we have filmed in Varanasi by a Brazilian director. And I hope many more will come, because India and Brazil has a lot of things to talk and share as a country. And Brazilians also warmly welcomes Indian culture and Indian things. So I think there is more to learn from each other. Because India is a very ancient country and Brazil is a very new. It's 500 years of history as a nation. So I think there is a lot to share each other.
Now I will request Isabella, the actor of the film, to share her thoughts.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the word. I want to thank Jyothi for the invitation to be part of this beautiful project. It's really admirable how he could put a lot of poetry in the integration of these two cultures from Brazil and from India. And it was a very inspiring experience to come to India and live all these rituals in a very truthful way, not just in the touristic path that usually tourists do in India, but really go to the most spiritual way of seeing Ganges, and also to live with them, to see how they see India as well, because the crew were mixed, Indian and Brazilian production. So it was a very strong experience. Also, it was not only as a acting mode, it was really an experience. It was very spontaneous to do the movie. So I really appreciate to be there. I'm very thankful for this life experience, I would say. And also to my work, it really brings a lot of truthfulness, because now it's inside of me, all this very spiritual way of watching Ganges and all these people who really live that every day. And yeah, it was a very personal experience. But professionally, it's beautiful to see the final product between these two countries, and also to be here in the festival, because we came just for the festival from the whole way from Brazil to here. So I'm very surprised with Goa, and not only with the city, but the size of the festival. It's really amazing. Thank you.
Now we would request João to share his experience and the journey of music in this film.
Good afternoon. It's my first time in India, and I'm very glad that it started in Goa, which he had Portuguese for many years, and is actually around the time that they were in Brazil, they were in Goa, so it's pretty incredible. And I was so happy to cross an ocean and speak Portuguese with someone. It was a great experience for me. Very nice. I feel incredibly welcome. People are patient and kind. And for me, it's going to change my music, the way I see things around. It's nice. I strongly believe in cultural boundaries, you know, much more than political, for instance. You know, I don't care much about like what the beliefs on when you cross a border or something, but actually what people do, it interests me a lot, and it's very nice. Just in this way, one can just dive into a culture and learn a lot and make a mix. We came from an experience. Jyothi is a great musician too. We had a group together, and we just produced an album of perfectly mixed Brazilian and Indian music, in Portuguese, in English, and some dialects too. So we had that experience. In this movie, I concentrated on the poetics because the images are strong, and Ganga has a flow. So we needed to get that flow going, and at the same time not be slow, not be moving too much. So I wanted to get a poetic vision around, but there was like an augmented poetics. So you can do that with electronics, with orchestration, and music of that. So that was my intention, and with the supervision of him, because he's a good musician too. So we come a long way together. Not long, but enough. And we always understand each other with music, and he gives me inputs, and I usually do. I try to play Indian instruments, but it would take a lifetime for me. So next lifetime I'll be a good bansuri player, maybe. You know, but I'm very glad, and the food and the people, everything is amazing. I'm very glad. The festival is incredible. The size of it, as I said, the city, I'm very happy and appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Anada, would you like to add something to what Zoe is saying?
Yeah, I just need to confess one secret to all of you. Because we had the world premiere yesterday, and we have just launched the movie in Brazil on Friday. We wanted to change it for 27th, but they couldn't, and it's very, very well received. In 14 places and 11 places since Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's sold out. And we are amazed because we are an independent production where there is a lot of big Hollywood productions coming, and Brazilians are, how you say, so open to receive. And I just got a note from that she sent me that her father went yesterday and he was very moved by the movie. So I said, that's the greatest appreciation I could get. And like that, you know, so many people going. So it's a very positive response from a Brazilian country. And my movie doesn't have a structure of like beginning, middle, end. It's a visual pilgrimage. It's a poetic thing. And people are very well communicating with it. So I'm so happy to share this with you people.
I think I have a reason why. Because this is the first thing that we got in common when we met. We met in a very incredible, odd situation, and we became friends since then. But since the beginning, the spirituality was what got us together, and then we agreed. He came from a different part of the world, and I was like, it's 9-hour time difference. And we agreed on the spirituality at the first minute. And this came across. The spirituality in India it's on the skin. You can feel it. And that's the reason why I get so much interest in Brazil, because of everything that India represents spiritually. And Brazil is also a very spiritual country. And this thing attracts, as I said, the cultural boundaries. You know, it gets similarities between them. So we really agreed in spiritual terms many times. Isn't it, Jyothi?
Yes.
Yeah. So this maybe that's why it's well received. Well, maybe it's a good movie.
Isabella, would you like to add something?
Yes, I was with a thought very similar to this because this acceptance of the movie, not only of the movie, but the Indian culture in Brazil is much because of yoga in the Western culture for sure. But in Brazil, because I'm a doctor but also a yoga teacher, so I know that how is different in Brazil because in Brazil yoga comes with Vedanta. And it's a very strong movement, the Vedanta in Brazil. So, as João Paulo said before, we have so many similar things. Not only the coconut, mango, and everything that came from India to Brazil, that it took a time for us to know that it was not from Brazil, because we have it so much, and it's so typical there. But then we discover it's all from here. And so I think Jyothi is right, we have a lot to share, and not only spiritually, culturally, but it's really, I feel at home here in India. Even
Completely. Completely.
people think I'm Russian here, but my heart, I really feel well welcomed here. People are so kind and lovely. And so I think that us Brazilians have a lot to learn with Indian culture. This ancient culture from India is very special there. And it's beginning to be a very big movement in Brazil, spiritual movement. And let's see how this mixture will come, no? Not only the traditional Vedanta, but how it will come after this mix. But I'm very glad.
The main protagonist of the movie was an engineer, and he was very successful engineer, entrepreneur. And then he had left that, and he came to India to study 4 years of Sanskrit and Vedanta. Now he runs a school, and there is a lot of them. They follow very traditional way of Vedanta teaching and learning beyond our imagination, because at the same time they are Brazilian, rooted in their culture, but they are willing to learn. So that's and I try to share some, let's say, some fragrance of the wisdom of Vedanta also in the movie. So in Brazil, it's not only yoga, it's about Ayurveda, it's about Vedanta,
Yes.
it's about general, about Indian culture, about even Indian music and Indian cinema. So that's a very positive sign. And a lot of things are going to happen, I hope, in the coming future.
In this mixture of cultures, as Jyothi said, not only the spirituality but music. I just launched an EP, a music disc with mantras in this Brazilian Indian way of doing, a Western way of doing mantras.
I would like to interact.
Yes.
Something.
Now the floor is open for the questions. Before that, briefly introduce yourself and then ask the questions. Please. Please hand over the mic.
Good afternoon, I'm Suresh here from Online Media. My question is, when it comes to happiness index, always Brazil scores there in the first 2 or 3. And how much does yoga and film have an impact on the happiness of the Brazilian people?
That I didn't measure, but I got very happy note from people. They were very moved by it. I didn't think about that sort of audience when I make, because I have nothing showing on yoga in my movie, but maybe there was audience except one scene of their practicing.
My question was, how can other countries be as happy as Brazil, and what are we supposed to do? Who are not in the top ranking in that?
No, I have, because
general
I'm here more to speak on the movie, not about these issues.
Yeah, maybe I can answer a little bit. You see a lot, you walk around a lot in Brazil, and many times people ask you, say, oh, maybe you're a little tense, you're a little worried. Why don't you do yoga? It became common now. So it's among, at least in a big city. I come from Rio, it's a big city. But among people, they normally will say, why don't you do some yoga or some meditation, something like that. So I think it's slowly become into the way that we thought, and through India. So most of the people
Yes,
are. Yeah.
I would say that it's the opposite. Like maybe you're talking about some measurement of ONU or something like that. But usually in our life, we say the opposite. We say that Brazilians come to India to see what's happiness. What is the santosha for
Exactly.
everyday happiness,
Exactly.
independently if you're in the transit or the horns in the transit, because in Brazil this would be different. So it's the opposite for us, but maybe it's just a perception. I don't think there's a recipe.
A question for you.
Yes.
My name's Anita, and I
Hello,
work
Anita.
with Incredible Goa. You said that you wanted to learn a lot of Indian instruments,
Yes.
in particular the bansuri.
Hmm.
Have you ever tried?
Yeah, I have like 6 bansuris, and I saw a musician playing bubu tarang. I loved it. I'd like to buy one, but maybe I can find it. But I heard that it takes a lifetime to play an Indian instrument well, except Veena, that needs 4 lifetimes. And I heard that. I thought it was incredible, and I keep practicing. You know, I'm a flute player, but it's difficult. But one thing that, since I'm a composer, like the limitless of melody and ambientalism of the music, it got influence in mine. Maybe you noticed, Jyothi, because I was interested in Indian music, but Western music has time of moving, and Indian music is more static. That I apply that in my music, so maybe I noticed that my last work that I did, like the chords would take longer to change, to move, and you could appreciate a little of things inside that. So I'm interested more as a composer. I can learn instantly, this in my perspective, because I can dive into something. You see, I just saw my coffee 2 days ago, this man playing bubu tarang, and I loved it, and it was an instant move. I felt it here straight, and I think it's easy to dive into this if you are conscious, if you're paying attention. But as a technical side, maybe in this life I can achieve that. I listen to Hari Prasad a lot.
You have conducted an Indian film festival in Brazil way back in 2012 or something.
Not one. From 2012 onwards.
Okay.
And we got the best film festival award of the year.
What was the response then? And are you planning a similar Brazilian film festival in India?
I haven't planned anything because I did it. It's a lot of responsibility and job. It was for 3 cities and it was extended to almost 7 cities, the film festival. And there was 35 movies from all Indian languages. That was the biggest in whole South America. And then 2014, when it was the 100 years of Indian cinema, also we did it in 3 cities. Then again we did it on women filmmakers of India. So last, let's say, 4 years or last 3 years, I'm just more giving kind of consultancy for this because it's a lot of job to do. And twice people came to ask me about the Brazilian Film Festival. So I said, I will give you all the contact, I will give you all the support, but I don't want to take in front because I want to focus about making some movies. But there is a chance. I'm thinking about this Brazilian Film Festival in few Indian cities. Because you need a big structure, a lot of money, energy, effort, goodwill, It takes at least a year or 2 to organize that. But I would be very happy, whoever proposed thing, we are there. Because Brazil makes wonderful movies. They have very, very beautiful movies. And one difference from us, they don't have a censor board to say that you have to cut this and you have to do this, you have to do that. I think it's very injustice to the Indian filmmakers that we always have to think about what the censor board will say to you, that how you have to make. And that limits because it's it's a kind of a restriction to the creativity of filmmaker. So I think we should loosen up a little bit this censoring thing of Indian cinema to express better.
Hi, I'm Gerard from Hindustan Times. You have made a film on, religious issues. So do you find, this making films on religious or spirituality topics?
It's not religious, it's not spiritual, it's about seeking.
Yes, yes.
Of it can be, but it happened to be in a place where there are lot of cultural, spiritual activities. But it's not a religious movie. I'm not propagating anything religious in the movie.
So is it especially challenging, given, the sentiments of people attached to these kind of topics?
It's more about search and in a crisis. It can happen to Gerald, it can happen to me, anyone, and they are searching, and travel can help that. So that's what I try to, I try to show. For example, we travel from Gomukh to Calcutta, 2000 hours, Gangotri, but I never mentioned. And all of them I just showed as travelers, I mean, people who are passing by, and we do travel. That's why. No, there are, because everywhere, because, for example, now they have made a rule in Brazil, at least 35% of Brazilian movies they have to show in the cinema, because Hollywood influences was becoming so big with the money, with whatever fame, name. And independent film is quite strong.
In television too.
Yeah. And my movie is released in a circuit where they show more cultural movies, not in the commercial. But we are there because we are having a public. That's what I say. We didn't had a great publicity or anything. But mouth to mouth, people spoke about it and people are there. I think in the Indian independent movie also it's the same. And there should be more support for that.
Sir, you said the journey from Gomukh to Kolkata. Can you just tell us about your inner spiritual, how did you advance in that process of filmmaking? Advancement in spiritualism, because it's now a trend in India also.
I couldn't advance because I was very stressed up with the movie thing, I mean, I managed because on halfway after filming 16 hours, we found out our lens had fungus. So we couldn't use that 16 hours of filming. So that was a great spiritual advancement, okay? And again, we filmed a lot. And last year, 2018, we had a great flood in Kerala, you know that. And I stay near a river, and there was 10 feet water inside my house where I lost everything. 1,000 books, lot of hard disk from the movie, an iMac, where you edit, lens, everything. So that's all part of sort of learning of the movie. That's what I see, a kind of detachment, that Ishvara gave me all this opportunity to make the movie and it took away. And again, it's coming back. So it goes. So a kind of detachment attitude. And we manage with all this to finalize the movie. So that I see it as a blessing. In that way I can say it was spiritually advancing. And another thing also, Calcutta, we were in Navaratri time, And when we film in public spaces, it's because we are with a very small equipe. We are not big, like 60 people, We are like 6-8 people we are working. And people were so supportive and collaborative wherever we filmed. Whether it is Varanasi, whether it is Gomukh, everywhere, So it was very kind of the nature or the people and culture, So that's what I can say.
My question is, Indian movies, how they are perceived in Brazil? Do they watch Indian movies?
As in cinema, my film is the first film who had released from an Indian filmmaker. Few movies have released, but it's always came from Hollywood, like Lunchbox, Meera Nair movies. But we never ever got a theater release, as far as I know, because I lived there 14 years, and last 8 years, almost every year I go. But in the film festival, always there is big rush for Indian movie. And when we did Indian festival also,
True.
because to get into the commercial circuit, you need to have a lot of money power. It's a competitive thing, you know. So maybe if they are seeing as this, maybe it could be a beginning. They see come an independent movie and getting the space like this. And I think it can be, I hope.
But Jyothi, don't forget that drama, we had a day drama. See, in Brazil, they're very popular is the day dramas in prime time. They're like 50
This
minutes
is what
long.
we say, that Brazil makes the biggest soap opera, which is they called novela. Like Hollywood make number of huge investment in the movies. Brazil makes the best quality novelas. So the television is much more stronger than cinema. You have to be famous first in the television to be known in the cinema. His parents, his father and mother are one of the most known actors in Brazil. His brother is a director in television. And he himself worked in cinema and television as a music producer. So he knows what he's saying.
Yeah, but I was saying that a few years ago we had an Indian theme soap opera, and it was huge. Around the time that we were doing an album, Roger, remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And it was huge. People were like talking about it, dressing like it. So I think the acceptance is nice because that's prime time television, 9 o'clock at night, and everybody was talking about it, dressing it.
Yes.
So the acceptance, by this point of view, I can say it's immense. You know,
and not only that, when they make this novella, these soap operas, it's not just for Brazil. It goes to, after that, by translation, everything, 50 to 55 countries. So they make it so professional, so like cinema. It's highly professional. I have never ever seen in the world who makes so professional like them, whether you like it or not, but the quality of professionalism is very high. I haven't seen neither in European television, neither in American television, who makes this soap opera like Brazilians. No. Very melodramatic, very romantic. They have some formula, and like our Bollywood movies, you know, they have that prohibited love, and then in the end. But it works, and people wait 9 o'clock to watch that. You can't imagine. It's more kind of a religious thing there.
Yeah, but the paradigm is changing now for series. You know, most of the world is focusing on series. So the type of production that I'm currently working are series. So and for streaming, this is what the world is interested now. So the productions, we didn't have to change that much. The quality of the technical side and the screenplaying are very good. And you probably, you know, I have friends. I had in my website, they're fans from India. Some of our work, my work was aired in India somewhere. I don't know where, but I have like a couple there I can click. So, but I would to answer that your question, yeah, you know, I think the market is amazing because it was interest. The interest was strong.
Isabella, have you watched any movies while you were here at the festival? Have you managed to watch some good movies?
I'm not
here?
really listening
Watch some movies.
Yes,
festival.
here in the festival.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Which are the films that you watched? Which did you manage to get?
Well, I've watched a German movie. A little bit dance to my moments now because I'm pregnant. You cannot see from there, but I have a small belly here. And to me, maybe it was not the right choice of the subject, but it was interesting, and it was about student production from a teacher. And I'm hoping to see a few other movies this afternoon. So yeah, this is what I could see until now.
And you keep visiting India? Do you keep visiting India?
Yeah, not this time. I come back to Brazil tonight, but this is my third time in India. I've been around a few places. I have a special love for Kerala, and but now Goa entered in the list of preferred places too.
And you were talking about Indian theme. What was the theme that you're talking about?
About the work. It was a family. It was a family, Indian family, and the way they interacted with Brazilian society, and the restrictions of Indians' moralism, and the liberalism of Brazil, those fightings, it was very interesting.
It was called India, a Love Story, and it was one of the huge hit of all times in the television.
Yeah, it was huge.
There. And they filmed about 70 days in Rajasthan, to make it more exotic. And the rest happened to be Brazil, but very, very, very well made. Very well made. I think they were very much inspired from Bollywood movies too, to make it very melodramatic and romantic too.
Any other questions? Okay, so now the press conference concludes, and I thank all of you to be here, and I thank the whole team of Uma, the Night of Himalaya, to be here, and brief about Indian media, about the Brazilian cinema and the documentaries and the TV shows of Brazil. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank all of you being here, in the name of our friends, three of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Goa is my favorite place in India.